You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And now joining us, we have Peter Schweizer, one of the great investigative journalists. He's also with the Government Accountability Institute. Peter, let's talk about what's going on with China and how concerned we should be and how you think that's going to play with President Trump.
Oh, I think it's going to be a huge factor because what you have with China is really the one country, the one foreign power where you have the intersection of, I would argue, the majority of our national security problems, the military threat, the subversion threat, the other things they're doing, and our economic challenges because of issues relating to trade and other subjects. So this relationship, I think, is going to be front and center. I think Donald Trump in his first term did a very good job in countering China. I also think he made some mistakes, which he would admit. I think that, he went and talked to Xi about fentanyl, and Xi said, we'll take care of fentanyl, and Trump said he's agreed to do it, which, of course, he didn't. So I think, as always, Trump is learning, and he learns from these situations when people don't keep their word. So this, to me, is going to be the central relationship upon which so much swings of what happens in this country.
What do you think is going to happen if, indeed, the Republicans keep the House? It looks like they're poised to do that. If they keep the House, where do you see the investigations going into some of the interesting money that's come about from China to some people? Some will be still in the White House, some will not.
Yeah, I think this is key, and it's a great point, Rita. And my hope is if the Republicans do have a majority, we don't have a situation where the majority is so slender that 2 and 3 of them decide to throw tantrums to give us a revolving door of leaders. But in terms of investigations, absolutely, there's so much to do. I mean, we've talked about it before. I laid it out in my book, Blood Money. The issue with China, my biggest fear with China is not that they are going to start launching missiles and we're going to have a military war, although we always need to be prepared for that. It's what they're doing already, which is to work to undermine the United States, kill people with fentanyl, support political radicals in the United States, create these sort of secret police stations that are operating around the country. And so we need to have investigation of those, and we need to understand not just why China's doing it, but why there's reluctance among some people in our government bureaucracy to deal with this. The House Oversight Committee, Jim Comer's the head of that. He's done a great job. Just came out with a report a couple weeks ago about CCP subversion and how our government agencies are just simply not at all equipped to deal with it. I mean, just one particularly galling example, NASA, the space agency, while the Chinese are working to steal our space-related technologies and view us as a competitor, NASA believes that, no, this is just a cooperative relationship with the Chinese, so they don't even have the right mindset. So this is going to be part of, I think, remaking government. It's related to other issues, the deep state, et cetera. But when it comes to our view of China, recognizing what China's about, this is not a typical conventional military threat. They are doing lots of things to damage and hurt American society. And through the strategy of elite capture, they've got people that are actually at least looking the other way, if not out cooperating with them on it.
Wow. Yeah.
Peter, Ed Cox here. Our problem with China, you're saying some of our agencies want to cooperate. Our whole state of mind since World War II with every other major industrial country, they were friends or allies, or they relied on us for their defense. Along comes China, and China basically wants to take the world order away from us and impose their own order. And we just haven't understood that. It was President Trump in his first administration who had us focus on that issue. China is a major economy that is not a friend and is a real threat to us.
No, I think that's really, really well said. And look, we tried for 40 years. For 40 years, our posture has essentially been cooperate with China because as they get richer and more prosperous, they will become less aggressive. They will become more like us. Guess what? 40 years into this, they haven't become more like us. You could argue we've become more like them. And this is the problem. The consensus, the quote-unquote engagement approach with China, which means giving them unfettered access to our capital markets, unfettered access to our trade markets, while we don't get either from them, has utterly failed. And so we need to acknowledge that. And I think you're exactly right. We need to have a mind change approach. They view warfare differently than us. They don't view it as we're at peace or if we are engaged in kinetic fighting. Now it's a war. They view war as something that happens below the level of fighting, things that you do to undermine and weaken your enemy. And as Sun Tzu, the strategist, said, the best strategist is the one who defeats his enemy without actually having to fight him. And that's what China's doing right now. They call it disintegration warfare. And we need to have a wake-up among our government officials, and I hope we're going to get that with Trump.
We just have a few seconds left. Judge Weinberg.
Peter, good to talk to you again. What about our economic dependency? We're dependent on them for the batteries for these electric cars. We're dependent on them for pharmaceuticals. We have to stop our economic dependency on China.
We have to have a maximum 20%, 30% of any of our products overseas.
So crucially important. And what happened to Donald Trump during the pandemic? He started talking about China, where the virus came from China, and this has been reported in numerous memoirs. And then the Chinese threatened him and said, you know what, if you don't stop doing this, we may stop sending you all kinds of drugs, antibiotics and other drugs. And he had to kind of mute himself. He still talked about it, but not as extensively.
Donald Trump, I know him for 45 years. Donald Trump does not forget.
Yes, 100% correct. And this is an opportunity, I think, for him to act on what he has learned about President Xi. He was willing to give Xi the benefit of the doubt in the first term. Xi used it to his advantage, and Trump is not going to make that same mistake again.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter Schweizer, thank you very much. We always love having you on. Great stuff, Peter. Keep us posted.
Take care, everybody.